Hello, dear listeners. Tonight I am taking you to the endless silence of the North Atlantic, aboard the unsinkable legend, the Titanic. Welcome to the Another Life History channel. If you enjoy this kind of real history content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You haven't opened your eyes yet, but your consciousness is slowly returning, surfacing like a diver from the depths of a deep ocean. The first thing you feel is that ancient rhythmic vibration settled into the very foundation of your existence. This vibration gently shakes not just the bed you lie on, but the air in the room, the breath in your lungs, and even the blood in your veins. It is like the beat of a colossal heart. It is the voice of steel, steam, and fire, a proud and powerful answer given to the cold waters of the ocean. You are aboard the world's greatest ship, the Titanic, and this vibration whispers to you, you are safe, you are strong, and you are moving through the center of infinity. You take a deep breath. The air filling your nose resembles nothing like the air on land. This air has been washed by the purity of thousands of miles of open ocean, then passed through the luxurious filters of a first-class cabin. There is a faint scent of lavender on your pillow. Just beneath it, you feel the coolness of that pristine, smooth, starched white cotton pillowcase against your cheek. As you shift your head slightly, the solid rustle of the pillow echoes within the silence of the room. The weight of the duvet rests upon you like a secure shield. This blend of silk and wool maintains your body heat in perfect balance. You are neither cold nor hot. You are simply in the most comfortable state of existence. You slowly part your eyelids. The light filtering through your lashes is soft and amber-colored. The mahogany paneling inside the room glows with the last rays of the day filtering in from outside. The deep, reddish-brown tones of the wood give you the feeling of being in the most protected chamber of a palace. You fix your gaze on the ceiling. It is adorned with cream-colored, simple yet elegant moldings. If it weren't for the deep hum of the ship's engines, you could think you were in the world's most luxurious hotel. But that slight sway, that barely perceptible rocking motion of a cradle, that is the only reality reminding you that you are upon the ocean. The ship is so vast that the ferocity of the waves is nothing more than a gentle lullaby here. Before sitting up, you remain in bed a while longer, savoring this moment. Time has no importance. Here, in this room, time flows differently than in the outside world. There is no place you need to rush to, no meeting you need to catch, no question you need to answer. There is only you and this moment. You slowly place your hand on the duvet and examine the texture of the fabric with your fingertips. Every stitch, every weave is in flawless order. This order calms your mind. No confusion, no chaos. Everything is exactly where it should be. You slowly sit up and move to the edge of the bed. As you let your feet dangle down, your soles meet that soft, thick, and densely woven wool carpet. The fibers of the carpet curl between your toes, as if welcoming your feet with a warm embrace. This softness on the room's floor contrasts with the world of steel and rivets outside. This place is a cocoon, a sanctuary of peace, completely insulated from the outside world, the cold, the wind, and the darkness. You turn your head to the right and look at the porthole, that round window. The thickness and solidity of the glass give you confidence. Outside, an endless blue stretches out. The horizon line is lost in that indistinct point where the sky and the ocean blend into one. The sun is slowly descending, scattering gold-colored scales upon the water. The surface of the sea rushes by, foaming, meters below the hull of the ship. Faced with the colossal vastness of the ocean, the warmth of this room becomes even more precious. Outside is wild, cold, and limitless. Inside is civilized, warm, and under your control. You stand up. Your body moves in harmony with the slight tilt of the ship. You don't even need to make an effort to keep your balance. Your steps are firm, as if you have made a pact with the sea. You walk towards the wash basin in the corner of the room. The marble of the wash basin is cool and smooth. The grey veins on the white marble look like the map of a frozen river. You reach for the faucet. The brass tap heads, shining in gold, are heavy and solid. When you turn on the hot water, a slight hissing sound from the pipes, and then the trickle of flowing water fills the room. As the water hits the porcelain basin and swirls, steam rises to your face. You hold your hands under the water. The warmth spreads from your fingertips to your wrists, and from there to your entire arms. You reach for the soap. It is an expensive soap, with extracts of lavender and rose. The clean, fresh scent that arises as you lather it in your hands wipes away the last crumbs of sleep from your mind. As you wash your face, the feeling of purification. The water leaves on your skin refreshes you, not just physically, but spiritually. You reach for the towel, a thick, white, soft towel. As you dry your face, the softness of the fabric caresses your skin. You look at your reflection in the mirror. Your eyes are rested, your face is peaceful. The reflection of the mahogany cabinets behind you increases the depth of the room. Now it is time to dress. When you open the door of the wardrobe, not the slightest creak comes from the hinges. Everything is designed with perfect engineering. Inside, the unique mixed scent of hanging clothes, fabrics, leather, and mothballs greets you. This is the scent of wealth and order. You must get ready for dinner, but without rushing, savoring every single piece. As you button your shirt, you feel the coolness of the mother-of-pearl buttons. Every point where the fabric touches your skin reminds you of its quality. When you put your jacket on, the slight weight settling on your shoulders gives you a posture, an identity. When you look at yourself in the mirror for the last time, you see not just a passenger, but someone who is a part of this floating palace, someone who has adapted to its nobility. You head towards the door. When you grab the brass doorknob, the coldness of the metal penetrates your palm. When you push the handle down, the click of the mechanism gently breaks the silence in the room. You open the door and step into the corridor. The corridor, a perspective stretching out as if endless. The patterns on the carpet flow forward with a complex dance of burgundy and gold colors. The air in the corridor is slightly cooler than your room, but not uncomfortable, a refreshing coolness. The electric light radiating from the sconces on the walls illuminates the environment dimly but clearly. There is no one around, only you. From afar, very far away, the muffled sound of a piano reaches your ears. The melody cannot be distinguished. There are only delicate notes hanging in the air. This music mixes with the ship's own voice, the hum of the engines, and the creaking of the wood, forming a unique symphony. Your steps make no sound on the carpet. You glide through the corridor like a ghost or a dream walker. Your eyes catch the paintings on the walls, oil landscape paintings, quiet country houses, peaceful lakesides. They are hung to remind people of the peace of the land, even while inside the Titanic. You run your hand along the polished wood of the handrail as you walk. Your fingers slide on the smooth surface. There is no speck of dust, no roughness. Everything is so clean that you feel as if you are touching a flawless surface created by nature itself, not an object made by human hands. You continue walking. As you approach the end of the corridor, you come to the area opening into the void of the ship's famous, magnificent grand staircase. This is another place where the heart of the ship beats. The light increases. The light filtering from the huge glass dome above refracts in the crystal chandeliers, turning into thousands of small rainbows and scattering around. You look down towards those wide steps. The ironwork on the railings is the most elegant point where art meets metal. Gold leaf details sparkle under the light. You stand at the top of the stairs and take another deep breath. The air here is more active. The scents of perfumes, expensive tobaccos, and fresh flowers are intermingled. This is the scent of social life, conversation, and civilization. But you do not want to mix with the crowd just yet. Right now, you are just an observer. You want to inhale the architecture, the soul, and the atmosphere of this immense structure, this floating city. You grasp the handrail with your hand and descend the first step. The solid sound made when your shoe touches the wooden floor proves that you exist here, within this history. With every step, you feel like a speck of dust floating in the void under that huge dome. Small, but an important part of this whole. The laughter coming from below, the sounds of crystal glasses clinking are a bit more distinct now. But these are not noise, they are like a pleasant melody in the background. While standing here on these stairs, the concept of time disappears completely. There is neither past nor future. There is only light, wood, crystal, and the reassuring embrace of this huge ship floating on the ocean. You surrender yourself to the flow of this magnificence. You glide slowly down the final steps of the grand staircase. The curved structure of the handrail beneath your hand fills your palm perfectly. With every step, the sensation of coolness passing from the polished wood to your fingers increases just a little more. When you set foot on the wide landing where the stairs end, you tilt your head slightly upwards and see that famous clock directly opposite you. The graceful dial nestled between the figures of honor and glory crowning time. The hour and minute hands stand almost motionless, as if to show how slowly, how nobly time flows here. Time on the Titanic is not a necessity, but merely an ornament. You proceed from the landing towards the reception room. It is more crowded here, but the crowd does not stifle you. On the contrary, this gathering makes you feel that you are not alone, that you are part of a select community. The rustle of silk dresses floating around you, the sound of stiff fabric of tailcoats rubbing together, and that faint scent of powder and expensive cigars hanging in the air. In a corner, you see the orchestra that has taken its place right in front of the wall. The deep, vibrating sound produced every time the cellist's bow touches the strings echoes in your chest. The waltz they are playing, the Merry Widow, is so light and fluid that it feels as if the ship is floating not on waves, but on the notes of this music. You stand before the massive, frosted glass double doors of the dining saloon. The door attendants, seeing you, open the doors wide to both sides before you even extend your hand. The moment you step inside, your senses shift to an entirely different dimension. This place is like a cathedral in the middle of the ocean. Hundreds of tables are covered with white linen tablecloths. The crystal goblets and silver sets upon them reflect the light of thousands of bulbs on the ceiling, creating a dazzling sea of shimmer. Although the interior is immensely vast, The acoustics are so well adjusted that the voices of hundreds of people reach your ears only as a sweet, muffled hum, like the soothing buzz of a beehive. You head towards the table reserved for you. A waiter appears like a silent shadow and pulls out your chair. As you sit, you feel the softness of the velvet upholstery against your back and legs. The waiter gently nudges the chair towards the table. You pick up the pristine, starched linen napkin from the table and spread it over your lap. The fabric is of such high quality that its texture slips through your fingers like silk. You focus on the table setting before you. Everything is placed with millimeter-perfect symmetry. The silver forks and knives are so shiny that you can see the patterns of the ceiling in them. The coldness of the heavy silver adds a seriousness to the table. You reach for the crystal water glass. The fine engravings on the surface of the glass touch your fingertips. When you bring the water to your lips, the razor-thin rim of the crystal plants a cold kiss on your mouth. As the water flows down your throat like a cool waterfall, you spread the freshness within it throughout your entire body. The meal service begins. But this is not just a meal, it is a ceremony. The porcelain plate brought by the waiter is placed on the table so softly that the click sound is almost inaudible. First comes a hot, clear consommé soup. The steam rising from the soup gently hits your face. Its scent is intense and rich, the smell of slowly simmered bones, fresh vegetables, and a hint of spice. You take the silver spoon in your hand. The weight and balance of the metal are flawless. When you dip the spoon into the soup and bring it to your mouth, the hot liquid disperses over your tongue. The taste is so intense and delicious that you close your eyes and focus only on this flavor for a moment. As the warmth descends into your stomach, that reassuring sensation of warming from the inside relaxes you. The icy cold of the ocean outside seems millions of miles away right now. Here, there is only warmth, flavor, and peace. The crunch of the fresh bread crust that follows echoes in your ears. Its softness inside, the slow melting of the butter you spread on it. Every bite slows time down a little more. The sommelier arrives and pours a dark, ruby-colored wine into the crystal goblet. The gurgling sound the wine makes as it is poured into the glass finds its own rhythm within the hum of the room. You hold the glass by its stem and swirl it gently. You inhale the scent of the wine. Oak, blackberry, and a faint scent of vanilla fill your nose. When you take a sip, that velvety taste it leaves on your palate makes you feel even more drowsy. You look around. An elderly couple at the next table is smiling at each other. A group of gentlemen a little further away are smoking cigars and chatting. Everyone has the same expression on their face. Contentment. No one is rushing. No one is thinking about tomorrow. It is as if this saloon is a bell jar, cut off from the rest of the world, where time is frozen. The deep vibration of the ship's engines continues to reach your body through the floor and the chair. But now, this vibration is not like the sound of a machine, but like a sign of life synchronized with your own heartbeat. The ship breathes, you breathe. The ship moves, you stay still. This contrast creates a strange balance. After you finish your meal, the waiter clears the table. A small plate of dessert arrives before you, a trembling, shiny jelly with fresh cream on the side. Even the soft resistance of the spoon cutting through the jelly gives you pleasure. As the dessert melts on your palate, its sugary and refreshing taste takes away the heaviness of the meal. You are now completely full, warmed and relaxed. Your body sinks deeper into the chair. Your eyelids feel slightly heavy, but it is too early to sleep. you must enjoy this peace, this atmosphere a little longer. Under the warm, yellow light of the dining saloon, the murmurs of people and the sounds of dishes begin to sound like a lullaby to you. Your mind empties. Worries, concerns, the chaos of life on land, all are buried in the dark waters of the ocean outside of this saloon right now. The waiter brings your coffee. The porcelain of the cup is so fine that if you held it up to the light, you could see through it. The roasted, intense smell of the coffee fills your nose and slightly wakes you. But this is not a disturbing awakening. It is a pleasant state of awareness. As you bring the cup to your lips, you feel the warmth where your little finger touches the porcelain. Sitting here at this table, you feel like the master of the world. While nature waits outside with all its savagery, you are right in the heart of the greatest comfort created by humanity. This feeling is more intoxicating than the wine flowing through your veins. The sense of security, an unshakable, indestructible sense of security wraps around your entire being. You slowly drift away from the glittering world of the dining saloon, adorned with crystal and silver. Your body carries the pleasant weight of a delicious meal. Your steps are now slower, more leisurely. It feels as if gravity has lessened slightly. As you pass through the wide doors at the exit of the saloon, the hum from inside remains behind you, leaving its place to the deep silence of the corridors. Now, your destination is the famous smoking room, located a bit further towards the aft of the ship. To get there, instead of walking, you decide to use another blessing of this technological marvel, the elevators. You arrive at the waiting area in front of the elevators. The wrought iron gates are crafted like a work of art. The golden lights falling upon the black metal soften even the iron. The elevator operator, seeing you, slides that iron gate to the side. The sound of metal sliding on metal is mechanical but smooth. You step inside. The elevator cabin, the size of a small room, is decorated with mahogany paneling and mirrors. The gate closes. When the operator turns the lever, you begin to float upwards with a very slight, ticklish sensation in your stomach. This movement is so delicate that if the floor indicator didn't change, you wouldn't even realize you were moving. The elevator stops. When the door opens, a completely different world lies before you. The white and bright freshness of the dining saloon is gone, replaced by a darker, more mysterious and much warmer atmosphere. This is the smoking room. As soon as you step inside, the first thing that wraps around your senses is the scent. But this is not an offensive smoke smell. This is the rich and aromatic blend of aged oak, genuine leather, expensive Havana cigars, and quality cognac. When this scent fills your lungs, it calms you instantly. This is a place where time not only slows down, but almost stands still. The walls of the room are clad in dark mahogany wood. Mother-of-pearl inlays are embedded in the wood. As the light hits them, these pearls shimmer like eyes glowing in the darkness. The windows are adorned with stained glass. Although it is pitch black outside, the interior lights hit these colored glasses, casting red, green, and blue shadows into the room. Right in the center of the room is a massive fireplace. Yes, in the middle of the ocean, inside a ship, a real coal fire is burning. The crackling of the fire serves as the background music to the room's silence. As the flames dance, orange reflections play upon the leather armchairs in the room. You spot an empty wing-back leather armchair near the fireplace. You head towards it. When you sit, the creak of the aged leather reaches your ears. The leather is so soft that it takes the shape of your body and traps you within. This chair is like a safe fortress embracing you. You stretch out your legs. The carpet beneath your feet is even thicker here, its patterns darker and more complex. A waiter appears. No need to speak. He understands your request with just a slight nod. A short while later, he returns with a large balloon-shaped cognac glass in his hand. You take the glass. The heat of your palm transfers to the amber-colored liquid inside. You gently swirl the glass. The sharp, fruity and woody scent of the cognac rises to your nose. You take a sip. The burning yet sweet trail the liquid leaves as it goes down your throat combines with the warmth in your stomach. This is the taste of pure pleasure. You begin to watch your surroundings. In other corners of the room, there are gentlemen gathered around tables covered in green baize. Playing cards are being dealt. The slight thud sound the cards make every time they hit the table and the clinking of the chips striking each other create a hypnotic rhythm. No one speaks loudly. There are only murmurs, thoughtful silences, and an occasional quiet chuckle. Here, there is no competition, only camaraderie. You gaze into the fire in the fireplace. The slight pops of the burning wood and the smoke drifting up the chimney completely empty your mind. Your eyes follow the grey spirals the smoke creates as it draws shapes in the air. The smoke rises, curls and vanishes into the darkness of the ceiling, just like your thoughts, worries, plans, life on land. They all fly away with that smoke. Your hand wanders over the wooden carving on the side of the chair. The armrest, carved in the shape of a lion's paw, lets you feel the master's handiwork. Everything here is made by human hands with patience and care. And you are sitting right in the heart of this work of art. The vibration of the ship's engines is a bit more distinct here as you are closer to the stern. But this is not a disturbing shake. On the contrary, it is like the purring of a giant cat. This vibration, passing to you from the wall you lean against and the chair you sit in, constantly reminds you that you are in motion. You are upon a power cutting through that endless, cold and dark ocean outside. But here, in front of this fireplace, it feels like the warmest and most protected place on earth. Your eyes close slightly. The heat of the fire hits your face. The weight of the glass in your hand, the comfort of the chair, and the dignified silence of the environment. You let yourself go completely. It feels as if you could sit in this room, in this chair, forever. Time may be flowing outside, the world may be turning, but here, in the Titanic's smoking room, there is only the moment, and this moment is flawless. You take another deep breath and inhale that rich scent. You turn your eyes back to the fireplace. The embers inside the fire glow and fade like living, breathing creatures. This hypnotic dance invites you slowly into a deeper state of relaxation. The embers in the fireplace are still glowing, but you feel the urge to move again. You slowly lift your body from the deep embrace of the leather armchair. Your muscles are relaxed. Your mind is hazy with a pleasant drowsiness. You leave the amber-hued world of the smoking room behind, stepping out through the revolving doors. The air in the corridor feels different instantly. It is fresher, cooler, and carries a hint of ozone. You decide to take a stroll along the enclosed promenade deck before retiring for the night. You step out onto the deck. Here, the atmosphere changes completely. You are now enclosed within a long, glass-walled gallery. To your left, the white-painted steel walls of the ship's superstructure gleam under the electric lights. To your right, a row of large windows separates you from the night. You walk slowly along the teak decking. The wood beneath your feet is solid and perfectly laid. The sound of your footsteps is different here. It is a crisp, hollow sound that echoes slightly down the long, empty walkway. You stop by one of the windows and press your face close to the glass. Outside, it is absolute darkness. The ocean has swallowed the light. You cannot see the waves, but you can hear them. A distant, rhythmic hissing sound as the ship cuts through the water. Occasionally, a faint spray of sea foam catches the light from the portholes below, flashing white for a second before vanishing into the black abyss. Seeing this darkness makes you realize just how small you are in the grand scheme of things, but strangely, it does not frighten you. On the contrary, standing behind this thick glass, inside this illuminated steel fortress, you feel more secure than ever. You are a spectator in a theatre of shadows. You turn away from the window and continue your walk. There are rows of deck chairs folded and stacked neatly against the wall, waiting for the morning sun. A few other passengers are strolling like you, silent ghosts gliding past. A polite nod of the head is the only interaction. No words are needed. Everyone is respecting the sacred silence of the ocean at night. You reach the entrance of the reading and writing room. You decide to step inside for a moment of absolute quiet. If the smoking room was dark and masculine, this room is its complete opposite. It is a sanctuary of light and grace. The walls are painted a pristine white, adorned with delicate silk tapestries. The carpet is a soft, pale rose color that seems to absorb every sound. The moment you cross the threshold, a profound hush falls over you. It is as if the room itself is holding its breath. The air here smells of dried parchment, ink, and lavender wax. It is the scent of knowledge and introspection. You walk towards the bookshelves lining the wall. The glass doors of the cabinets reflect the soft glow of the crystal chandeliers. You open one of the cabinets. The small brass key turns with a satisfying click. You run your finger along the spines of the books, leather bindings, gold-lettered titles, Dickens, Thackeray, poetry collections. You pull a book out at random. It is heavy. You open it, and the smell of old paper wafts up to your face, a dry, sweet, vanilla-like scent. You don't read the words. You just look at the texture of the paper, the uneven edge of the pages. You close the book and place it back, treating it with the reverence of a holy relic. You move towards one of the writing desks, located in a cozy alcove. A small, green-shaded lamp casts a pool of warm light onto the desk's surface. You sit down. The chair is lighter here, upright but comfortable with floral upholstery. On the desk there is a silver inkstand and a pristine sheet of Titanic stationery. The white Star Line logo is embossed in red at the top. The paper is thick and creamy. You pick up the pen resting on the stand. It feels cool and balanced in your hand. You don't write anything. You just hold the pen, hovering over the paper, watching the shadow of your hand under the lamp. In this room, the vibration of the ship is barely perceptible. It is so still that you can almost hear the filament buzzing in the light bulb above you. Far away, very faintly, you hear the ship's bell tolling the hour. Ding, 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 ding. 4 bells. 10 p.m. The sound is muffled, coming from the crow's nest, traveling through the wind, penetrating the glass, and reaching you as a whisper. It reminds you that while you sit here in this stillness, the ship is tirelessly ploughing ahead, mile after mile, into the west. You put the pen down. The soft clink of the pen hitting the silver stand sounds incredibly loud in this silence. You rub your eyes. The brightness of the white room is starting to feel a bit too much for your tired eyes. You yearn for the darkness of your cabin again. You stand up, your chair sliding noiselessly on the thick carpet. You take one last look at this elegant, silent room, a temple of civilization floating on a primitive sea. You feel filled with a sense of awe at human achievement. To bring this level of refinement, this silence, this library to the middle of the Atlantic, it feels like a miracle. You exit the room, stepping back into the corridor. The long walk back to your cabin begins. But this walk is not a chore. It is the final transition before sleep. You are ready to surrender to the night. You step out of the reading and writing room, leaving behind that sanctuary of silence and the scent of old paper. The door clicks shut behind you with a soft, decisive sound, sealing away that world of hushed intellect. You are back in the corridor of A deck. Here, the air is different again. It is not the warm, smoky embrace of the smoking room, nor the lavender-scented stillness of the library. It is a transitional air, clean, crisp, and charged with a subtle electricity. You stand still for a moment, letting your eyes adjust from the focused light of the reading lamp to the softer, longer perspective of the corridor. The long strip of carpet stretches out before you, a river of wool running through a canyon of white enamel and polished mahogany. At this hour, the corridor is almost entirely deserted. The rhythmic thrumming of the engines feels more pronounced here, traveling up through the steel skeleton of the ship, through the layers of decking, and resonating in the soles of your shoes. It is a constant, reassuring heartbeat that says, "We are moving, we are alive." You decide that before you retire to the confines of your cabin, you need to see the night itself. You need to ascend to the highest point of this floating city, the boat deck. You walk towards the midship staircase. Your movements are slow, deliberate. There is no rush. In this simulation of 1912, speed is reserved for the ship. You have the luxury of absolute slowness. You climb the stairs. Your hand glides over the banister, feeling the perfect curve of the wood, polished by the hands of hundreds of stewards. You reach the top landing. Here, facing the entrance to the gymnasium, is a heavy, varnished teak door that leads to the open air. Through the small glass window in the door, you can see nothing but absolute blackness. You reach out and grasp the brass handle. It is freezing cold. The metal has conducted the temperature of the North Atlantic air outside, holding it like a block of ice. You turn the handle. It requires effort. The door is heavy, built to withstand storms. You push it open. Whoosh! The wind greets you instantly. It is not a gust, but a solid wall of air. It rushes past you, invading the warm vestibule for a split second before you step out and pull the door shut behind you, fighting the wind's resistance until the latch clicks. Silence falls. But it is a different kind of silence. It is the roar of the natural world. The wind is singing in the rigging wires above, a high-pitched, mournful song that never ceases. The sound of the ocean is far below, a hiss of white water being broken by the steel prow. But up here, 70 feet above the waterline, the dominant sound is the wind and the deep bass rumble of the 4 colossal funnels. You wrap your heavy overcoat tighter around yourself. You pull the collar up, buttoning it to the very top. You feel the rough, thick wool of the coat scratching gently against your neck, a sensation of warmth battling the biting chill. You put on your leather gloves, flexing your fingers to keep the circulation going. The cold here is serious. It is a dry, razor-sharp cold that seems to bypass the skin and touch the bone. It is the breath of the ice fields, invisible but omnipresent. You begin to walk along the boat deck. The planks beneath your feet are different here. They are raw teak, scrubbed white by salt and holy stoning, slightly damp with the condensation of the night. Your shoes make a hollow wooden clump-clump sound that is immediately snatched away by the wind. To your left and right, the lifeboats hang in their davits. They look like sleeping whales, covered in heavy white canvas tarpaulins. You run your gloved hand along the side of a boat as you pass. The canvas is stiff, frozen hard by the temperature. The ropes that hold them are taut, groaning slightly as the ship rolls almost imperceptibly. These boats are merely objects to you right now, architectural details that break up the long lines of the deck. They offer a sense of clutter in an otherwise pristine environment, a reminder of the regulations of the sea. You walk towards the center of the ship, craning your neck back to look up. Above you tower the funnels. They are monstrous. From this angle, standing right at their base, they look like pillars supporting the sky itself. They are painted a buff yellow, though in the moonlight they look like pale grey monoliths. The sheer scale of them is terrifying and magnificent. You can feel the heat radiating from them, a faint, metallic warmth that battles the Atlantic chill. Smoke pours from the tops, a thick, black river of soot that trails off towards the stern, blotting out the stars in its path. You watch the smoke for a long time. It is the visible breath of the furnaces deep below, where hundreds of men are shoveling coal into the fires to keep this dream alive. You continue your solitary patrol. You pass the raised roof of the first-class lounge. Through the clerestory windows, you can see the warm, golden glow of the stained glass from the outside. It looks like a jewel box glowing in the dark. You can faintly hear the music from within, muffled and distorted by the glass and the wind, like a memory of a song rather than the song itself. It feels surreal to be standing here in the freezing wind, separated by only a few inches of glass from a world of silk, champagne and warmth. You walk past the entrance to the Marconi room. Above you, the aerial wires stretch between the masts. They are singing loudly in the wind, a ghostly whistling sound. You know that somewhere in that small shack, sparks are flying and messages are being tapped out in Morse code, invisible tendrils of information connecting this isolated steel island to the rest of the world. Click, clack, click. The sound of modernity. You finally reach the railing. You approach it slowly. This is the edge of the world. You place your hands on the railing. It is wet and slick with sea mist. You lean over slightly, looking down, 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 down. The distance to the water is dizzying. The hull of the ship drops away into the darkness, a sheer cliff of black steel. Far below, you can see the white foam peeling away from the side of the ship. It glows with a faint, ghostly phosphorescence. The water looks like black oil, thick and heavy. It does not look like water you could swim in. It looks like a solid substance, unforgiving and absolute. The speed of the ship is evident here. The water rushes past with violence, churning and boiling. You are moving at 22 knots through a void. You lift your gaze from the abyss below to the abyss above. The sky. You have never seen a sky like this. Without the light pollution of a city, without the haze of land, the heavens have revealed themselves in their entirety. It is a dome of crushed velvet, sprinkled with diamond dust. The stars are not just points of light. They are fierce, burning suns. They look close enough to touch. You can see the Milky Way, a cloudy river of light slashing across the firmament, thick and bright. You try to find the constellations you know. Orion is there, the hunter, striding across the southern sky. The Great Bear hangs low. But there are so many stars that the familiar shapes are almost lost in the chaos of light. You feel an overwhelming sense of insignificance. You are a microscopic speck on a steel speck, floating on a watery speck, drifting through an infinite void. But strangely, this feeling does not bring fear. It brings a profound sense of peace. The universe is vast, and you are a part of it. The cold wind on your face makes you feel alive. The vibration of the railing under your hands connects you to the ship. You are suspended between the ocean and the stars in a moment of perfect equilibrium. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sensory experience wash over you. The smell of salt, the smell of coal smoke, the smell of the damp teak wood, the bite of the cold on your nose and cheeks, the sound of the wind rushing past your ears, the deep, rhythmic thudding of the pistons far below. You open your eyes and look towards the bow of the ship. It is cutting a clean path towards the horizon, towards New York, towards the future. Everything feels unstoppable. The ship feels solid, immovable, eternal. The idea that anything could threaten this mountain of steel seems laughable, impossible. It is a conqueror, taming the wild ocean with its sheer mass and will. You turn your back to the railing, leaning against it. You look back at the superstructure of the ship. The white paint gleams under the starlight. The rows of windows on the promenade decks below cast rectangular patches of yellow light onto the ocean, little windows of civilization looking out into the wild. You notice the gymnasium windows nearby. You walk over and peer through the glass. Inside, it is dark, illuminated only by the moonlight filtering in. You can see the mechanical camels, the rowing machines, the stationary bicycles sitting in silence. They look like strange, skeletal sculptures waiting for their riders. There is something haunting about their stillness, a frozen tableau of activity. The cold is starting to seep through your heavy coat now. Your fingers are beginning to numb inside your leather gloves. The romanticism of the starlit deck is giving way to the physiological reality of the freezing Atlantic night. Your body craves the warmth of the interior again. The ship offers you a choice: the raw, beautiful, deadly nature outside, or the warm, artificial, safe cocoon inside. You choose the cocoon. You push away from the gymnasium window and head back towards the vestibule door. Your footsteps on the deck are the only human sound in this wind-swept world. You reach the heavy teak door again. You grasp the handle, turning it with stiff fingers. You pull. The door opens, and you step over the high threshold, back into the vestibule. You push the door shut against the wind. Thud. The latch clicks. Instantly, the roar of the wind is cut off. The singing of the wires ceases. The cold is locked out. You are back in the muffled, warm, civilized silence of the ship's interior. The sudden lack of noise makes your ears ring slightly. The air here is still and warm. You begin to unbutton your heavy coat, your fingers fumbling slightly as they regain their dexterity. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the heated air. You are safe. You are inside. You begin to descend the stairs, heading down towards sea deck, towards your cabin. The memory of the stars and the black water remains burned into your retinas, a secret image you will carry with you into sleep. The ship continues its journey, a warm spark traveling through the frozen night. You have left the biting frost of the Atlantic night behind you. As you descend the stairs from the boat deck, the heavy teak door above creates a final barrier between you and the wild elements. With every step you take downwards, The silence of the ocean is replaced by the hushed, civilized silence of the ship's interior. The air grows warmer, richer, and still. It is a physical sensation, like stepping into a warm bath after walking through a snowstorm. Your skin tingles as the blood rushes back to your cheeks, greeting the ambient warmth of the first-class stairwell. You reach A deck, but you do not stop there. You continue your descent. The grand staircase, which was a hive of social activity only hours ago, is now in a state of slumber. The lights have been dimmed to a soft golden glow. The massive crystal chandelier above is no longer a blazing sun, but a collection of glimmering stars, reflecting faintly in the polished oak paneling. You glide your hand along the balustrade as you walk down. The wood is smooth, cool, and solid. At the landing of B deck, you pause for a moment to look at the cherub statue holding the lamp. In this dimmer light, the bronze figure looks almost alive, watching over the sleeping ship with an eternal, frozen smile. The shadows in the corners of the staircase are long and soft, draping over the architecture like velvet curtains. There is no one else here. The only sound is the creaking of the wood as the ship gently rolls, a sound that has become as natural to you as your own breathing. You continue down to C deck. This is your destination. You step off the plush runner of the stairs and onto the carpet of the reception area. To your left is the purser's office. The grilled windows are closed, the lights inside are out. The busy commerce of the day, the exchanging of currency, the depositing of valuables, has ceased. It stands now as a silent monument to order and bureaucracy, sleeping along with the passengers. You turn into the long corridor that leads to your stateroom. The perspective here is mesmerizing. The corridor stretches out before you, seemingly infinite, a tunnel of white enamel, mahogany doors, and patterned carpet. The ceiling lights are spaced at regular intervals, creating pools of light and shadow that you walk through one by one. Light, shadow, light, shadow. The rhythm of your movement matches the rhythm of the ship. Walking here, deep within the belly of the vessel, the vibration of the engines is more pronounced than it was up on the open deck. It is a deep, resonant thrumming that travels up through the steel floor plates, through the layers of insulation, through the thick wool carpet, and into the soles of your shoes. It is a comforting sensation. It reminds you that while you rest, the ship works. While you sleep, the furnaces burn. It is a lullaby sung by 10,000 tons of machinery. You reach your door, stateroom C54. The number is painted in gold on the dark wood. You reach into your pocket and retrieve your key. The metal is warm from being held against your body. You insert the key into the lock. The mechanism turns with a heavy, satisfying clunk, precision engineering at its finest. You push the door open and step inside. Home. The atmosphere of your cabin wraps around you instantly. It smells of you, your cologne, the leather of your luggage, and the faint, sweet scent of the fresh flowers on the vanity. The steward has been here while you were out. The room has been transformed from a daytime living space into a sanctuary for sleep. The heavy curtains over the porthole have been drawn tight, shutting out the black eye of the ocean completely. The main overhead lights have been turned off. The only illumination comes from the small bedside lamp, casting a warm, amber circle of light onto the pillow. The bed has been turned down. The corner of the duvet is folded back at a perfect 45-degree angle, inviting you in. Your pajamas have been laid out on the mattress, folded neatly. A glass of fresh water sits on the nightstand, catching the light. Every detail whispers, "Relax. You are taken care of." You stand in the middle of the room for a moment, just breathing. You are no longer a passenger on a deck. You are a resident in your private castle. The first thing you must do is divest yourself of the armor of the exterior world. You begin to unbutton your heavy overcoat. Your fingers, now fully thawed and dexterous, work the large buttons through the stiff wool holes. You shrug the heavy garment off your shoulders. As the weight leaves your body, you feel an immediate physical lightness, as if a burden has been lifted. You hang the coat in the wardrobe. The cedar lining of the closet releases a pleasant, woodsy aroma as the door swings open. You place the coat on a sturdy wooden hanger, smoothing out the shoulders. It will rest there until morning. Next, you remove your scarf and gloves, placing them on the shelf. You turn back to the room. You catch your reflection in the large mirror of the vanity table. You look tired, but it is a good tiredness. It is the fatigue of fresh air and wonder. The wind has left your hair slightly disheveled, giving you a look of wildness that contrasts with the formal elegance of the room. You sit down on the velvet stool in front of the vanity. You begin to untie your shoes. You pull the laces, loosening the knot. You slide your heel out, then your toes. When your foot touches the carpet in just its sock, the sensation is exquisite. The wool is soft and yielding. You wiggle your toes, feeling the circulation return fully. You remove the other shoe and place them both neatly side by side. Now, the formal wear. You stand up and begin to undo the buttons of your dinner jacket. The fabric is black wool, fine and expensive. You take it off and drape it carefully over the valet stand. You undo your cufflinks, small ovals of gold and onyx. You place them in the small crystal dish on the dresser. They make a sharp tink sound as they hit the glass, a tiny punctuation mark in the silence of the room. You unfasten your collar. The stiff, starched fabric has been holding your neck upright all evening. As you detach the stud and pull the collar away, your neck feels suddenly free. You rotate your head, stretching the muscles. Crack. A small release of tension. You unbutton the shirt, the studs slipping through the buttonholes one by one. You peel the shirt off. The air of the room feels cool and pleasant against your skin. You are shedding the layers of society, the layers of expectation. With each piece of clothing you remove, you are becoming less of a first-class passenger and more of a simple human being preparing for rest. You walk to the wash basin in the corner. You turn the tap labeled hot. The water sputters for a second, then flows clear and steaming. You fill the basin. You lean over and splash the warm water onto your face. It washes away the salt spray of the Atlantic, the soot of the smokestacks, the fatigue of the day. You reach for the bar of soap, Vinolia Otto Toilet Soap, the standard of the White Star Line. It lathers into a rich, creamy foam that smells of lemon balm and rose. You massage it into your skin, slow, circular motions. You rinse. You reach for the plush towel hanging on the heated rail. It is warm and fluffy. You bury your face in it, inhaling the clean scent of cotton dried in hot air. You feel renewed, clean, warm, and safe. You put on your pajamas. They are made of silk, cool to the touch, fluid like water. They slide over your skin without friction. Buttoning the top, you feel a sense of finality. The day is officially over. There is nothing left to do, no one to speak to, nothing to see. You walk over to the bedside table. You pick up the glass of water. You take a long, slow sip. The water is cool and tastes pure. It travels down your throat, hydrating you. You place the glass back down. You look at your pocket watch, which you placed on the nightstand earlier. It ticks softly, a metallic heartbeat. 11:30 p.m. You sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress is thick and supportive. It sinks slightly under your weight, cradling you. You place your hands on your knees and just listen. The ship is talking to you. Listen closely. Can you hear it? There is the faint rattle of the glass in the porthole frame, a tiny, high-pitched vibration. There is the creaking of the wood paneling as the ship flexes, a sound like an old house settling, but deeper, heavier, and beneath it all, that constant, low-frequency hum of the engines. It is not a noise anymore, it is a presence. It is a sensation that starts in the floor and wraps around the entire room. It is the sound of power contained, of energy being transformed into motion. You are moving west at 22 knots, cutting through the blackest water on earth. Yet here you sit, in silk pajamas, on a soft mattress, bathed in warm amber light. The contrast is almost impossible to comprehend. But you don't need to comprehend it tonight. You only need to surrender to it. You lift your legs onto the bed, sliding them under the cool, crisp sheet and the heavy duvet. You pull the covers up to your chest. The weight of the bedding presses down on you, grounding you. The pillow is soft under your head, smelling of lavender and fresh laundry. You settle in, finding that perfect position. Your body seems to melt into the mattress. You reach out your hand towards the lamp switch. Your fingers find the small brass toggle. Click. The room plunges into darkness. But it is not a scary darkness. It is a soft, velvety darkness. Gradually, your eyes adjust. You can see the faint outline of the porthole curtain, illuminated very dimly by the deck lights outside. You can see the gleam of the mirror. In the dark, your other senses become sharper. The sound of the engine seems to grow louder, more rhythmic. Thrum, 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 thrum. It is hypnotic. It syncs with your own heartbeat. You lie there, staring up into the dark ceiling, feeling the gentle, slow roll of the ship. Up and down, up and down. A cradle rocked by the ocean itself. You are perfectly safe. You are perfectly comfortable. And you are ready to drift away. The darkness in stateroom C54 is not empty. It is a substance. It is a soft, heavy velvet that has filled the corners of the room, draped itself over the furniture, and now rests gently upon your eyelids. With the extinguishing of the amber lamp, the visual world has retreated, leaving you alone with the intimate reality of feeling and hearing. You lie on your back, your body fully extended, surrendering to the pull of gravity. The mattress, a masterpiece of horsehair and soft cotton, rises to meet every curve of your spine, filling the hollow of your lower back, supporting your shoulders. You are not merely lying on a bed, you are floating on a cloud that is anchored to a steel island. For the first few minutes, your eyes remain open, staring into the void above. Slowly, inevitably, the pupils dilate, searching for photons. Gradually, the room reconstructs itself in shades of charcoal and deep indigo. You can trace the faint, ghostly outline of the mahogany wardrobe, standing like a silent sentinel in the corner. You can see the pale rectangle of the door, the brass handle catching a stray gleam from the corridor lights seeping through the keyhole. It is a landscape of shadows, familiar and safe. But as your vision fades into irrelevance, your hearing expands. It sharpens, tuning itself to a frequency that is usually drowned out by the noise of the day. You begin to hear the secret language of the ship. The Titanic is talking to herself. It begins with the woodwork. As the ship gently pitches, a slow, majestic rise and fall that takes almost 10 seconds to complete, the thousands of pieces of wood that make up the cabin's interior shift against each other. Creak. A soft woody groan comes from the panelling near the window. It is the sound of a living tree repurposed into a palace. Then a retort from the wardrobe, a sharp, dry tick. Then a whisper from the floorboards. These are not sounds of distress, they are the sounds of settling. It is the ship stretching her muscles, adjusting her bones to the movement of the sea. Underneath the wood there is the glass. The heavy crystal water carafe on the nightstand vibrates against the silver tray. Ching, ching. It is barely audible, a microscopic collision of materials, singing a tiny, high-pitched note every time the engines surge. It sounds like a distant wind chime, delicate and fragile. And then there is the fabric. As you breathe, the heavy linen sheet and the silk damask duvet move with you. The sound of the fabric rubbing against itself is a hush, a whisper near your ears. Swish, swish. It is the sound of your own existence, the rhythm of your life syncing with the rhythm of the night. But the most dominant sound, the bass line of this nocturnal symphony, is the vibration. In the dark, the engines feel closer. You can feel the rhythmic pulse of the propellers, those three massive bronze blades churning the water miles behind you. Thrum, 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 thrum. It travels through the keel, up the bulkheads, into the legs of the bed, and into your very bones. It is a constant, unwavering assurance of progress. It tells you, rest now. We are carrying you. We are strong. We are tireless. Your mind begins to drift. You are no longer just in a room. Your consciousness expands to encompass the ship itself. You visualize the source of that power. In your mind's eye, you travel down through D-deck, E-deck, F-deck, down into the fiery belly of the beast. You imagine the boiler rooms, not as a place of chaos, but as a place of rhythmic, hypnotic labor. The glow of the furnaces, orange and red, the shovelers moving in unison, feeding the fires that warm your back. The steam rising, pressurized, powerful, turning the massive steel shafts. It is a mechanical heart, beating so that you can sleep. You let your mind travel further, outside the hull. You imagine the water. The Atlantic Ocean is pitch black tonight. You visualize the steel bow of the Titanic slicing through the water like a knife through black silk. You imagine the white foam curling away from the sides, phosphorescent bubbles glowing for a second before fading back into the deep. The water is cold, freezing, but you are separated from it by thick steel plates and warm blankets. This contrast, the knowledge of the cold outside versus the reality of the warmth inside, creates a feeling of supreme coziness known as hygge. It is the joy of shelter. You shift your position in the bed. You turn onto your side, curling your legs up slightly. The movement creates a pocket of warm air under the duvet. You pull the pillow closer, tucking your arm underneath it. You find a cool spot on the pillowcase, that delicious, fresh coolness of smooth cotton against your cheek. You sigh, a long, slow exhalation that empties your lungs of the day's residual tension. Your thoughts begin to fragment. The linear narrative of your mind is breaking down, replaced by abstract images and sensations. This is the hypnagogic state, the bridge between the waking world and the dream world. You think of New York, but you don't think of the logistics of arrival. You see only soft, impressionistic images, the Statue of Liberty emerging from a morning mist, holding her torch, the sound of harbour gulls, the smell of roasting coffee on a busy street. It feels close. It feels inevitable. Then the image changes. You are back on the promenade deck, but the sun is shining. You are watching a lady's scarf blowing in the wind. It is blue. No, it is green. The color shifts. The image blurs. You are drifting. The sound of the engines changes character. It is no longer a mechanical throb. It becomes a natural sound. It sounds like heavy rain falling on a roof. Or perhaps it is the sound of a distant waterfall. Your brain is translating the mechanical noise into something organic, something soothing. Thrum becomes hush. Thrum becomes sleep. A heavy warmth spreads through your limbs. Your legs feel like they are made of lead, sinking deeper into the mattress. Your arms are heavy, relaxed, immovable. Even your eyelids feel weighted down, sealed shut by a gentle, invisible force. If you wanted to move now, it would require an immense effort. But you don't want to move. You have no desire to be anywhere else in the universe but right here, in stateroom C-54, suspended in the middle of the ocean. You become aware of your breathing again. It has slowed down significantly. It is deep and rhythmic. Inhale, quiet pause. Exhale, quiet pause. The air in the cabin is still fresh, recycled by the fans, cool in your nostrils, warm in your throat. For a moment, a sudden small muscle twitch in your leg jerks you back to partial wakefulness. The hypnic jerk. Your eyes flutter open for a split second. You see the darkness again, the outline of the door. You realize where you are. Titanic, ocean, night. The realization is comforting. You are not lost. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. You close your eyes again, sinking back down, this time deeper than before. You begin to play a mental game to guide yourself further into sleep. You imagine the ship as a cradle. You focus on the roll. Tip to the left, slowly, gently. Tip to the right, slowly, gently. It is barely perceptible, just a few degrees. But if you focus on it, it feels like the ocean is rocking you. You surrender your inner ear to this motion. You flow with it like seaweed in a gentle tide. The boundaries of your body seem to dissolve. You can no longer tell exactly where your skin ends and the sheets begin. You feel expansive, light and airy. The worries of yesterday, the business deals, the family letters, the social obligations, feel like they belong to a different person, from a different lifetime. They are small, distant specks on the horizon, moving further away with every turn of the propeller. In this deep quiet, you realize how silent the ocean truly is. It is the silence of the void, and you are traveling through it in a bubble of light and warmth. You feel a sudden surge of gratitude for the engineers, the builders, the stokers, the captain. They are the guardians of your sleep. They are watching the gauges, steering the wheel, shoveling the coal, so that you can lie here in this silk cocoon and drift. The silence deepens. The creaking of the wood becomes less frequent, or perhaps you are just ceasing to hear it. The vibration of the engines becomes a part of you, a background radiation of peace. You are floating. You are warm. You are safe. The darkness is no longer a substance. It is a blanket. The ship is no longer a machine. It is a mother. The ocean is no longer a threat. It is a lullaby. Drifting, drifting, drifting. Your conscious mind lets go of the last rope tethering it to the shore of wakefulness. You push off into the dark, calm waters of sleep. The transition is seamless. One moment you are listening to the hum of the ship, and the next you are part of the hum. And so the great ship carries you forward, a sleeping passenger in a floating palace, gliding under the canopy of a billion frozen stars, moving towards a destiny that has not yet arrived, through a night that feels like it will last forever. Time has dissolved. The ticking of the pocket watch on the nightstand has become meaningless, a redundant mechanism in a world that has moved beyond hours and minutes. You have slipped past the shallow shores of light slumber and are now drifting in the deep, abyssal currents of delta sleep. In this state, your consciousness is no longer confined to the boundaries of your physical form. You are not just a body lying in a bed in stateroom C-54. You are a suspended awareness, floating in the dark, warm amniotic fluid of the ship's interior. The heavy breathing of your physical body is rhythmic and slow, a soft metronome keeping time with the eternal thrum, thrum, thrum of the reciprocating engines. While you sleep, the ship changes. The Titanic at midnight is a different creature than the Titanic at noon. During the day, she is a social stage, a bustle of commerce and conversation. But now, in the deepest trench of the night, she reveals her true nature. She is a machine organism, a creature of steel and steam, fighting a solitary battle against the resistance of the water. In your sleep, you can sense the environment shifting. The air in the cabin has changed subtly. It has grown crisper, denser. Even through the heavy layers of the wool duvet and the silk sheets, there is a ghost of a sensation, a coolness that wasn't there an hour ago. It is not a cold that makes you shiver. It is a cold that clarifies. Outside the thick glass of your porthole, the temperature has plummeted. The air, which was merely fresh when you walked the deck, is now freezing. The ship has entered a thermal inversion, a pocket of air so still and so cold that it feels like the breath of a sleeping giant. This cold presses against the steel hull, cooling the rivets, cooling the plates. It tries to seep in, but the ship's heaters fight back, creating that perfect, cozy equilibrium where you are tucked away warm inside a frozen shell. This contrast only deepens your sleep, making the bed feel like a fortress. Your dreams tonight are influenced by this motion and this cold. You are not dreaming of land, you are dreaming of flight. In the dreamscape, you are gliding effortlessly over a surface of black glass. It is the ocean, but it is unnaturally calm. There are no waves. The Atlantic, famously tempestuous, has smoothed itself out into a flat, infinite mirror to reflect the stars. You are flying low over this dark water, weightless, unburdened by gravity. You can see the reflection of the Milky Way in the water below you, so that you are flying between two skies, one above, one below. The sensation is one of absolute freedom. You are faster than the wind, smoother than the water. The dream shifts. You are now part of the ship itself. You are the keel. You can feel the water rushing past your skin. It feels like silk. It feels like oil. The resistance is minimal. You are slicing through the void with the confidence of something that cannot be stopped. You feel the heat of the boilers in your chest and the cold of the sea on your back. It is a feeling of immense power and invincibility. Meanwhile, in the waking world, the ship continues its silent rituals. Above your head, on the bridge, the officers are moving with hushed footsteps. They speak in whispers, their voices low tones that do not disturb the night. They sip hot tea to ward off the chill. They peer out into the darkness, but there is nothing to see. The horizon is a blur. the line between sea and sky erased by the darkness. Far forward in the crow's nest, the lookouts are motionless statues wrapped in heavy coats. Their eyes are watering from the freezing wind created by the ship's speed. They are the eyes of the ship, straining against the blackness. But to your sleeping mind, they are just guardian angels, watchers on the tower, ensuring your rest is unbroken. The bell tolls. Ding ding, ding ding, ding ding, ding ding. 8 bells, midnight. The sound vibrates through the ship's structure. It is a faint, metallic resonance that reaches your subconscious. In your dream, this sound translates into something else, perhaps a church bell ringing in a distant valley, or the chime of a grandfather clock in a childhood hallway. It marks the transition of the watch. Men are changing shifts. The stokers in the bowels of the ship are wiping the sweat from their brows and handing their shovels to fresh hands. The rhythm of the coal being thrown into the furnaces does not skip a beat. Scrape, swoosh, clang. Scrape, swoosh, clang. The heartbeat continues. You roll over in your sleep. The movement is slow and languid. Your face presses into the cool side of the pillow. The linen smells of starch and lavender, a scent of cleanliness that grounds you. You pull the duvet up higher, burying your ear against the mattress. Time has dissolved. The ticking of the pocket watch on the nightstand has become meaningless, a redundant mechanism in a world that has moved beyond hours and minutes. You have slipped past the shallow shores of light slumber and are now drifting in the deep, abyssal currents of delta sleep. In this state, your consciousness is no longer confined to the boundaries of your physical form. You are not just a body lying in a bed in stateroom C-54. You are a suspended awareness, floating in the dark, warm amniotic fluid of the ship's interior. The heavy breathing of your physical body is rhythmic and slow, a soft metronome keeping time with the eternal thrum, thrum, thrum of the reciprocating engines. While you sleep, the ship changes. The Titanic at midnight is a different creature than the Titanic at noon. During the day, she is a social stage, a bustle of commerce and conversation. But now, in the deepest trench of the night, she reveals her true nature. She is a machine organism, a creature of steel and steam, fighting a solitary battle against the resistance of the water. In your sleep, you can sense the environment shifting. The air in the cabin has changed subtly. It has grown crisper, denser. Even through the heavy layers of the wool duvet and the silk sheets, there is a ghost of a sensation, a coolness that wasn't there an hour ago. It is not a cold that makes you shiver. It is a cold that clarifies. Outside the thick glass of your porthole, the temperature has plummeted. The air, which was merely fresh when you walked the deck, is now freezing. The ship has entered a thermal inversion, a pocket of air so still and so cold that it feels like the breath of a sleeping giant. This cold presses against the steel hull, cooling the rivets, cooling the plates. It tries to seep in, but the ship's heaters fight back, creating that perfect, cozy equilibrium where you are tucked away warm inside a frozen shell. This contrast only deepens your sleep, making the bed feel like a fortress. Your dreams tonight are influenced by this motion and this cold. You are not dreaming of land, you are dreaming of flight. In the dreamscape, you are gliding effortlessly over a surface of black glass. It is the ocean, but it is unnaturally calm. There are no waves. The Atlantic, famously tempestuous, has smoothed itself out into a flat, infinite mirror to reflect the stars. You are flying low over this dark water, weightless, unburdened by gravity. You can see the reflection of the Milky Way in the water below you, so that you are flying between two skies, one above, one below. The sensation is one of absolute freedom. You are faster than the wind, smoother than the water. The dream shifts. You are now part of the ship itself. You are the keel. You can feel the water rushing past your skin. It feels like silk. It feels like oil. The resistance is minimal. You are slicing through the void with the confidence of something that cannot be stopped. You feel the heat of the boilers in your chest and the cold of the sea on your back. It is a feeling of immense power and invincibility. Meanwhile, in the waking world, the ship continues its silent rituals. Above your head, on the bridge, the officers are moving with hushed footsteps. They speak in whispers, their voices low tones that do not disturb the night. They sip hot tea to ward off the chill. They peer out into the darkness, but there is nothing to see. The horizon is a blur, the line between sea and sky erased by the darkness. Far forward in the crow's nest, the lookouts are motionless statues wrapped in heavy coats. Their eyes are watering from the freezing wind created by the ship's speed. They are the eyes of the ship, straining against the blackness. But to your sleeping mind, they are just guardian angels, watchers on the tower, ensuring your rest is unbroken. The bell tolls. Ding ding, ding ding, ding ding, ding ding. 8 bells, midnight. The sound vibrates through the ship's structure. It is a faint, metallic resonance that reaches your subconscious. In your dream, this sound translates into something else, perhaps a church bell ringing in a distant valley, or the chime of a grandfather clock in a childhood hallway. It marks the transition of the watch. Men are changing shifts. The stokers in the bowels of the ship are wiping the sweat from their brows and handing their shovels to fresh hands. The rhythm of the coal being thrown into the furnaces does not skip a beat. Scrape, swoosh, clang. Scrape, swoosh, clang. The heartbeat continues. You roll over in your sleep. The movement is slow and languid. Your face presses into the cool side of the pillow. The linen smells of starch and lavender, a scent of cleanliness that grounds you. You pull the duvet up higher, burying your ear against the mattress. In your dream state, this lack of friction manifests as a sensation of flying. You feel weightless, as if the bed has lifted off the floor and is hovering in the center of the cabin. The vibration of the engines is the only thing tethering you to reality, but even that has become smoother, a continuous purr that feels less like machinery and more like the breathing of a great beast in deep hibernation. The temperature outside has plummeted. It is now freezing, strictly, sharply freezing. The air is so cold that it feels brittle, as if it could shatter like crystal. This intense cold has created a thermal inversion, trapping the sound and the light, creating a vacuum of sensory isolation. The condensation on the outside of your porthole glass has frozen into intricate fern-like patterns of ice. These delicate frost flowers are the only barrier between the warmth of your breath and the lethal chill of the void. Deep in your sleep, you sense this cold not as a threat, but as a clarity. It is a purifying force. It strips away the fog of dreams, leaving only a stark, beautiful stillness. Your mind drifts upwards, leaving the comfort of sea deck, floating ghost-like through the layers of the ship. You drift through the silent corridors of B deck, where the shoes placed outside the doors for polishing stand like small, empty soldiers. You drift up the grand staircase, where the clock still presides over the empty landing, the cherub lamp casting long, motionless shadows. You emerge onto the boat deck again in your mind's eye. The scene is breathtaking in its stillness. The funnels stand stark and black against the stars, smoke rising from them in straight vertical columns, undisturbed by any breeze. The smoke looks solid, like pillars of grey marble supporting the sky. And the sky has multiplied. Because the ocean is so flat, so perfectly reflective, the billions of stars above are mirrored perfectly in the water below. The ship is floating between two firmaments. There is no horizon line anymore. The black water and the black sky have merged into a single sphere of infinity. The Titanic is a small, warm spark traveling through a universe of diamonds. The silence on the deck is absolute. It is a breathless silence. Even the lookouts in the crow's nest, high above the bridge, are wrapped in this silence. They are staring into a black hole, straining to see a delineation between the water and the air, but there is none. The haze that usually sits on the horizon is gone, yet the darkness itself feels thick, heavy, concealing. You drift back down through the steel and the wood, returning to the sanctuary of your body. In the stateroom, the silence has a texture. It feels heavy, like a thick blanket. The creaking of the wood has stopped because the ship is not rolling. She is steady as a rock. This stability is incredibly soothing to the sleeping body. Your inner ear, usually working to balance you against the motion of the waves, finally relaxes completely. You are as still as if you were sleeping in a house on solid ground, miles inland. Your breathing deepens. Inhale. The air in the room is warm, recycled, smelling of expensive soap and mahogany. Exhale. The tension leaves your muscles. But in this profound silence, your hearing becomes hypersensitive. You can hear the blood rushing in your own ears, a sound like the ocean tide. You can hear the faint electrical hum of the light bulb filament, even though it is off. You can hear the very molecular structure of the ship vibrating. Somewhere, deep in the forward cargo holds, the steel plates are cooling, contracting in the freezing water. Ping. A tiny metallic sound echoes through the hull. It is the sound of the ship shivering. It is a lonely sound, swallowed instantly by the vastness of the ship's interior. You stir slightly in your sleep. Your hand moves across the cool sheet, seeking a patch of untouched linen. You find it. The coolness against your palm is delicious. You sigh, a long, shuddering breath that marks the transition into an even deeper state of rest. You are entering the void. This is the part of sleep where dreams disappear, where the self disappears. There is only existence. You are a point of consciousness suspended in the dark. The rhythm of the engines, thrum, 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 feels slower now. It is a hypnotic drum beat. It tells a story of endurance. It says, "We are going, we are going, we are going." It feels eternal. It feels like this motion will never end, that this ship will sail forever across this mirror ocean, frozen in time, an eternal traveler in the night. The sense of safety is overwhelming. You are inside the largest moving object ever built by human hands. You are surrounded by luxury and engineering marvels. What could possibly touch you here? The cold is outside. The dark is outside. You are in the heart of the light. But there is a tension in the air, a charged quality that only animals and deep sleepers can sense. It is the tension of a bowstring pulled back to its limit. The stillness is too perfect. The water is too smooth. The night is too dark. Nature is holding its breath. In your subconscious, you feel a waiting, not a fear, but an anticipation, like the moment before a conductor raises his baton, like the second before a drop of rain hits the ground. The ship rushes on, 22 knots. The steel bow slices the black oil of the water without a sound. You turn your head on the pillow. The movement is heavy, slow. You are so comfortable, so deeply embedded in the mattress, that you feel merged with the bed. The weight of the blankets is a physical manifestation of the silence, drifting, floating, sliding through the dark. You are a traveler in the breathless void. The world has narrowed down to this room, this bed, this beat. The past has vanished. The future has not happened. There is only the smooth, silent, rushing now. And in this now, the silence is the loudest thing in the world. It wraps you up, seals you in, and carries you forward into the final moments of the old world. Sleep deep. The ocean is watching. The stars are watching. The ship is carrying you. Everything is still. Everything is quiet. So quiet. Time has become a substance as thick and fluid as the darkness at the bottom of the ocean. Your consciousness is floating in the deepest layers of sleep, in that space where dreams fall silent and only existence remains. Your only connection to the external world is the ship's reassuring, rhythmic pulse. Thrum, 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 thrum. This sound is no longer just a noise to you. It is the bedrock of your reality. It travels up from the steel skeleton beneath the floorboards, through the bed springs, and into every vertebra of your spine, swaddling you in an endless mechanical lullaby. But, somewhere in the deep mechanics of the universe, something is about to shift. In the depths of your dream, you sense a microscopic hesitation in that familiar rhythm. You are not awake yet, but your body, possessing an ancient instinct for survival, senses that the pattern has broken. First, the tone changes. The deep baritone hum coming from the ship's lungs, the massive boiler rooms, falters for a split second. It is as if the ship has held its breath. Then, from very far away, perhaps miles away in the distance of your subconscious, comes a muffled clangor. It is the bell in the crow's nest. Ding, ding, ding. But in the windless night, the sound is so faint that it weaves into your dream like a church bell ringing in a submerged valley, echoing and vanishing. Then the physical change begins. The familiar vibration beneath your mattress suddenly changes character. That soft, circular cradle motion disappears. In its place comes a harder, more tense shivering. It feels as if the ship's engines have begun to struggle against an unseen force. You can feel the metal straining against metal. The propellers, those massive bronze wings, are fighting the resistance of the water. The bed shakes gently, not like an earthquake, but like a giant hand has grasped the hull of the ship and squeezed it. And then the moment arrives. Time, 11:40 p.m. There is no explosion. There is no crash. There is only a sensation. On the starboard side of this mountain of steel, a strange, long and grinding contact begins. It does not feel like a collision. It feels like a long, laborious kiss. The touch of millions of tons of ancient ice against thousands of tons of riveted steel. Lying in your bed, you do not hear this so much as you feel it. It sounds like someone is tearing a vast piece of heavy canvas or thick calico right outside the ship's skin. The sound comes from deep down, underwater. The air in your room vibrates. On your nightstand, the crystal water carafe and the glass begin to dance on the silver tray. Ching, 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 ching. That delicate, fragile sound of glass chiming against glass rings out like a crystal alarm in the silence of the room. The grinding continues. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. A duration that feels like an eternity. It feels as if the ship is rolling over a bed of thousands of marbles or giant gravel stones. You feel a rumbling sensation traveling up from the floor, climbing the legs of the bed. You feel it in your back, in your shoulders, even in your teeth. The ship shivers, but it shivers not with fear, but with surprise. That unshakable, proud hull flinches at the cold, hard touch of nature. And then the grinding stops. The ship passes the obstacle. The vibration lessens. The glasses fall silent. The crystal carafe settles. The objects in the room return to their stillness. You open your eyes. Darkness. The familiar velvety darkness of the room. But something is wrong. The heavy curtain of sleep still hangs over your mind, but your consciousness is alerting you. What was that? You ask yourself in the silence. Was it a dream? Did a storm break? But the ship isn't pitching. In fact, she is standing straighter than ever. You prop yourself up on your elbows. You strain your ears. You can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. Thump, 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 thump. And that is when the most frightening, the most uncanny event of the night occurs. The silence. The true silence. For 4 days, from the moment you left Southampton, those massive reciprocating engines have never stopped. They have slept with you, woken with you, breathed with you. Now, they stop. That deep, reassuring roar, that sound that said, "I am here," is cut off. The hypnotic rhythm of the pistons dies. The rotation of the shafts, the hiss of the steam, all of it fades away like a dying candle, diminishing into nothingness. The heart of the ship stops beating. This silence is louder than any noise could be. It is as if all sound in the world has been suddenly vacuumed away. Your ears search for the background noise they are accustomed to, but they find only a void. You feel suspended in the center of nothingness, in the middle of the ocean. The ship is no longer slicing the water. The ship is no longer breathing. She is just drifting, gliding on inertia, slowing down, sliding silently over the black mirror of the sea. This sudden absence of sound forces you out of bed. The primitive urge to investigate overrides the comfort of the blankets. You throw the duvet off. The rustle of the silk sheets sounds like thunder in this new silence. You place your bare feet on the carpet. The wool is still soft, still warm, but the air in the room feels changed. It feels colder, more stagnant. You fumble in the dark for your dressing gown. The fabric of the silk robe touches your fingers. As you slip it on, the coolness of the silk makes your skin shiver. You tie the sash. Every movement you make feels like a small violation of the room's stillness. You move towards the door. The brass doorknob is freezing. You grasp it and turn. The click of the lock mechanism echoes sharply. You crack the door open and poke your head out. The corridor. That long, infinitely perspective sea deck corridor. There are others like you. Doors are ajar. Figures in white pajamas and robes, eyes heavy with sleep, hair disheveled, are peering out. No one is shouting. No one is running. There are only whispers. What happened? Why have we stopped? Did we hit something? There is no fear in their tones, only a mild annoyance and perhaps a bit of curiosity, because this is the Titanic. This is the unsinkable ship. This is the fortress of comfort and safety. The concept of danger does not even enter anyone's mind. At most, it must be a mechanical failure, or perhaps a propeller blade has fallen off. A technical inconvenience. A steward appears at the end of the hall. His white jacket is crisp and pressed as always. He is calm and professional. He wears that familiar, reassuring smile. But deep in his eyes, buried very far down, there is a flicker of confusion he cannot quite hide. You call out to him, your voice barely above a whisper. "Steward, what is the matter?" The steward stops and bows slightly. His voice is soft, soothing, perfectly pitched for the quiet of the night. "There is no cause for alarm, sir. Most likely the captain has stopped the engines as a precaution due to ice nearby. Or perhaps we have thrown a propeller blade. Please, go back to your room. It is quite chilly in the corridor." This answer relaxes you. It makes sense. Stopping the engines in the middle of the ocean at midnight could be a technical necessity. The steward's calm demeanor, the authority of his uniform, sweeps away that small crumb of doubt in your stomach. You return to your room. You close the door behind you. Click. You are back inside the safe cocoon. But the silence is still there. It hangs in the room like a heavy fog. You walk towards the porthole. You pull back the heavy curtains. Behind the glass, it is pitch black. You can see nothing. No waves, no foam, and certainly no iceberg. Just a black, endless, glassy surface. And the stars in the sky. They are so bright, so piercing, it looks as if they have taken the opportunity of the ship's stillness to come closer down to earth. You touch the glass with your hand. It is so cold that it burns your fingertip. The freezing breath of the air outside is seeping through the glass. This cold reminds you of how fragile the shell of the ship actually is. Inside is warmth, outside is lethal cold. And the only barrier is this glass and steel. You return to your bed, but you do not lie down immediately. You sit on the edge of the mattress, waiting for the engines to start again, waiting for that familiar thrum-thrum to return. But it does not come. Instead, you hear new sounds coming from the structure of the ship. The skeleton of the vessel is settling into its new lack of motion. Tiny creaks from the wood paneling, faint groans of metal cooling down, and also, if you listen very, very carefully, a sound coming from very deep down. Perhaps you are imagining it. The sound of water. Not the water outside the ship, but the sound of water rushing inside somewhere. A muffled roar of pressurized water bursting into a space where it shouldn't be, miles away from your warm luxury room, down in the fire and the blackness where the stokers work. But the sound is so faint, you cannot be sure you heard it. It is nothing important, you tell yourself. This is the Titanic, the greatest ship in the world. She cannot sink. You lay your head back on the pillow. The coolness of the linen feels good against your cheek. You stare at the ceiling. With the engines gone, you can hear the tiny, high-pitched buzz of the light bulb filament, even though it is off. You do not even feel that the ship has tipped forward, ever so slightly. A fraction of a degree. A tilt so slow, so insidious, that only the water level in your glass changes by a millimeter. You are uneasy, but you are not afraid. Your body is still heavy with sleep. Your mind is still behind the veil of dreams. You want to believe that this stop, this silence, is temporary. Outside, on the deck, sailors might be uncovering the boats. On the bridge, officers might be looking at charts. In the wireless room, that sparking machine might be starting to tap out CQD. Click, click, click. But here, in stateroom C54, time is still frozen. You are lying in the very center of history's greatest tragedy, cradled in the lap of luxury and comfort, wrapped in cotton like a babe, with the immense peace of not knowing. You take a deep breath. The air in the room still smells of mahogany and lavender. You pull the duvet up to your chin. Silence. Just silence. And waiting. Like a silent witness watching the surrender of this massive pile of metal to its destiny, your eyes are open, listening to the dark. Waiting. You are still lying in the dark. Waiting. The minutes have stretched into hours, but in the timeless bubble of stateroom C-54, it is impossible to measure how long it has been. The silence that woke you has now settled into a heavy, permanent presence. You have made your choice. The corridor outside was cold and uncertain. The confusion of voices, the distant sound of steam venting, the shuffling of feet on the deck above. It all felt like a disruption to the peace you have found here. You have chosen the warmth. You have chosen the bed. You have chosen to trust this steel cathedral to keep you safe, just as it promised. You pull the duvet up to your chin. The heavy wool and silk feel like a protective shell. You close your eyes, deciding to let the world outside sort itself out. But as you drift in that space between waking and sleeping, you hear it. It comes from far away, filtering down through the layers of the ship, echoing down the grand staircase, slipping under your door. Music. It is not the lively ragtime of the afternoon. It is something slower, more solemn. A hymn. The cello and the violins are weaving a melody that sounds like a prayer made of air. It is "Nearer, my God, to Thee." The notes are faint, trembling slightly in the freezing air, but they are pure. They do not sound like a farewell. They sound like a lullaby, a final serenade for the sleeping giant. You listen to the music. It wraps around your mind, soothing the small knot of anxiety in your chest. It tells you that there is dignity in stillness. It tells you that everything is part of a greater design. As the music plays, you notice the light. The electric light bulb in the corridor, whose light creeps through the transom window above your door, flickers. It dims, then brightens, then dims again. The power of the ship is fading. The great dynamos deep in the stern are spinning their last revolutions. The heartbeat of the Titanic is slowing down. This flickering light is hypnotic. It mimics the heavy blinking of your own eyelids. Dim and bright. Dim and bright. The angle of the bed has changed. You can feel it now. The ship is bowing its head towards the ocean. But in your sleepy state, this doesn't feel like sinking. It feels like the ship is tucking you in. Gravity is pulling you deeper into the mattress, holding you firmer in your place. The furniture in the room is heavy and bolted down. Nothing moves. Only the water in the crystal glass on the nightstand sits at a steep angle, a silent gauge of the end. You take a deep breath. The air is still sweet, but there is a new scent underneath the lavender. It is the scent of the sea. The ocean has come closer. The salt air is mingling with the perfume of the cabin. It is the smell of returning to nature. The corridor light flickers one last time. It glows a deep, burning orange, the color of a setting sun, and then it fades into nothing. Total darkness. The ship has lost its power. The civilization of light has ended. Now, there is only the primitive, ancient dark of the Atlantic. But you are not afraid. The darkness feels velvety, soft, and infinite. It is the same darkness that was here 1,000,000 years before this ship was built, and it will be here 1,000,000 years after. You are simply rejoining the silence. In the dark, the sounds change. The music has stopped. The distant voices have faded. There is a great groaning sound from the ship's structure, a deep, mournful sigh of steel relaxing its tension. It sounds like a whale calling in the deep. It is a sad sound, but it is not violent. It is the sound of surrender. You feel a sense of weightlessness. The bed, the room, the ship, it all seems to be floating free. You are no longer attached to the earth. You are a star suspended in the void. Your mind releases the last of its thoughts. You let go of the cold. You let go of the fear. You let go of the concept of tomorrow. There is only this moment, this warm, dark, silent moment. You visualize the ship from the outside one last time, a black silhouette against the stars, gliding silently down into the embrace of the water. It is not a tragedy in your mind anymore. It is a return. The iron returning to the earth, the water returning to the water. You feel a profound sense of peace wash over you, a wave of relaxation that starts at your toes and moves up to your head. It is deeper than any sleep you have ever known. The ocean is rocking you now, gently, gently. The great Mother Ocean is taking you into her arms. You are safe. You are loved. You are eternal. The cold is gone. There is only a warm, golden light in your mind. You drift towards it, drifting, floating, sleeping. The story of the Titanic ends here for you, not in ice, but in a dream. The ship has become a cradle, the night has become a blanket, and you are the dreamer who never has to wake up. Good night.